announcements. We've got two presenters today. We've got Robin with the W Collective and Dan with Motivational Speaking, and he'll be the second presenter. Robin will come up first. And also just a little sidebar comment. Jason and I are headed to Kansas City next week for the 1 Million Cup Summit. Any feedback you can give us that we can take back to the organizers back in Kansas City, the Kauffman Foundation that this has been founded by, let us know so we can take back some feedback on how we're doing out here in the West and how we can improve and what you'd like to see taking place. So, okay, so I will turn the time over to Robin.
Hi, everyone. Well, it's good to be here. So I presented at 1 Million Cups in Salt Lake City probably about a month ago. So I'm excited that I have an opportunity to present here. And so let's get going. So I'm actually originally from Toronto, Canada. Woohoo, for the Great White North. I've lived in 2 continents, 3 countries, and 7 cities over the course of 20 years. And I've been living now in Salt Lake City, so we're in the heart of Salt Lake City, downtown Salt Lake City, for about 5 years. And my husband's in the audience videoing right now. So it's Todd Cohen's my husband. And we just fell in love with it, both in terms of just lifestyle and the nature that's surrounding us, but also in terms of what's happening with the ecosystem here. I think it's really exciting place to be right now. So I'm excited to be here and excited to support the ecosystem. So the W Collective, and I'm wondering, will they just go through the slides or do I have a clicker? Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So the W Collective, I'm just going to jump right in. So I put together a team of women, some of them that I know on a friendly basis, some of them that I've worked with. When I was talking about the idea of this, they wanted to get involved, and they all come from various backgrounds, so marketing, biz dev, product marketing, leadership development, employee development. So it actually serendipitously happened to just be an incredible group of women that was diversified in terms of age, as well as background and experience. And so it's been really great to bring them together and to work on this. So, and this is a really great, observation right here. So Utah has a female representation problem. And this goes through many different areas that I'll talk about. But I think that based on what I see in the audience and based on just my experience over the last 10 years of being involved in various women organizations and living in all the different places that I've lived in, this tends to be a trend. But it's particularly so here, and I'll tell you why. So these are the 3 stats that I've been focusing on. One is that 37% of all employed women in Utah, so in professional roles, right, puts us at 46 in the nation. And I just think that that is quite sad, especially when you kind of look at the surface of what's happening here in our tech, startup, and business ecosystem. I think that we could be doing better. We rank dead last, number 50 in the nation when it comes to the wage gap. And I'm sure that we could pull that apart, and dissect as to why that's the reason, for what the reason is. But still, we rank 50, and I think that we could be doing better. The other stat that I think is really interesting is that 75 plus women's groups operate independently across the valley. And I don't think that really, serves any purpose to what our greater goals are if we're kind of all working towards the same thing, but they're working in silos. So I feel like, why not bring all of that together in one platform? Just to give you a quick background, so as I mentioned, I've been involved in women-focused organizations for over a decade in various cities, in various roles. And then I've also been a part of a couple of women's groups here, Womenpreneurs for One. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. And I also started Women's Week at the Impact Hub when I was the director there, just highlighting various women across the valley. So when I think of what we want to create with the W Collective, I look at these two sites. So one is very focused on women, and some of you may or may not know Girl Boss. But I'm sure if we were to raise hands of like who knows TechCrunch here, who knows TechCrunch? I'm sure all hands go up, right? And I think that the juxtaposition between the two, right? One's very focused on women, and it's a content-based site, right? But the content tends to be very female-focused as well, right? What are we talking about? Beauty routines, you know, fashion, and all that fun stuff. But I tend to actually love TechCrunch. I love the kind of content that they put up, right? It's very business focused. It's talking about investments. It's talking about, you know, companies growing and pivoting and just what's happening in the basic business and tech community, primarily in Silicon Valley, but obviously globally as well. And so I kind of want to put these two together in terms of what the W Collective ought to be. So we want to create one platform that amplifies and elevates women across the valley, their businesses, so either businesses that they own or run, as well as a platform where you are coming to check out events that we're curating for women, as well as resources. So you would come to us to discover all of the other groups that are here in the valley, and then we would link out to them. And that's the W Collective. So we are a reimagined media company in Utah. And again, our mission is to amplify and elevate what is already happening here, right? So we don't want to compete with these groups. We want to amplify and support what they're already doing. And that's why I say that instead of everyone operating independently, we want to kind of bring them all together on one platform. So we're going to do that through interviews. We're going to do that through featuring these businesses. And again, we just want to make Utah a more competitive and friendly state for women. So as I mentioned, interviews, business features, a visual directory of all the groups, monthly events directory, as well as some lifestyle and educational articles, but, you know, not about beauty and fashion and all that stuff. You know, something that is much more dynamic for women, that it's a source of learning and education for them, that it's even highlighting our state. You know, I think that we are a really unique state, and I think there's a chance to really highlight all that's happening there, as well as monthly newsletters. Okay, so one of the things that we are doing that is different is that we have an advocates committee of men. And I'm sure you might be thinking like, whoa, why would a women's focused platform, you know, have an advocates committee of men? Well, we talk a lot about inclusion and diversity. And I think that it's time to show what that actually means. And we actually also recently added another advocate to our committee, Robert Bell. So he's a part of Sustainable Startups. He runs 1 Million Cups Salt Lake City. He's also with Idea Lab right now, so he's our newest member on our committee. And really what we're trying to say is that these men support what we're doing, so they support the W Collective, and it's just really making a bold statement that men do want to support the goals and the initiatives that women have for themselves. We also have an advisory board, and Amy happens to be one of our advisors, so we're really excited about that. And again, what we've done with our advisory board is we want to make sure that that diversity and inclusion really goes across the board. It's in age, it's in background, it's in professional experience, and it also really makes up what Utah looks like, right? I tend to think that there is a divide between things that are happening in Utah County and things that are happening in Salt Lake County. And so we want to show in our advisory board that we're kind of bringing all of that together, because that is what makes our community unique. So where are we? So we've kind of like fast forward really quickly. And so we founded this in May. We established, as you can see, our founding team, our advisory board, our advocates committee. We launched our website at the end of August. We are planning a launch event. We're saying October, might not be until November or December of this year, depending upon our bandwidth and what's going on. And what we're currently looking for right now is founding sponsors, founding corporate sponsors, if you will. I think that there's an opportunity for companies to get behind this. So not only to support the initiative and the growth of the website and what we're trying to do, but to also highlight who are the women in those organizations. What does their diversity inclusion programs look like? I think that if we can kind of support what they're doing, by them supporting what we're doing, I think that there can be some nice synergy there. Some other things that we've been thinking about is, like, where could this brand go? And these are just some quick ideas. But for example, we could do quarterly pop-up stores, if you will. There's a lot of female-focused brands in Utah that are actually doing quite well. I think it'd be great to feature them. And considering there tends to be an issue with retail space right now, right, because of what's happening with online and e-commerce, I think there's an opportunity there. We would love to do an annual conference. So actually, the one thing that we are hopefully going to be working on is a type of funding conference, if you will, for women. So I don't know if you know the stats, but last year, out of, I think it was like 120 or 130 billion of investment dollars, 2.2% of that went to women. Less than 1% went to women of color. So I think we just really need to work on these issues in a much more dynamic way. We could do a co-working space. I don't know. A couple of co-working spaces that are focused on women right now in downtown Salt Lake don't necessarily appeal to me. And so I think that there could be an opportunity there just in terms of what's happening with workspace in general right now. And then, of course, duplicating the site in other cities. We're looking at tier 2 markets. So Salt Lake City is considered a tier 2 market and one of the fastest growing ones. Others, Pittsburgh, Des Moines, Iowa. So I think there's an opportunity there because those cities and states tend to kind of be put to the wayside because everything happens in New York and, in LA and all of the coastal cities. So I think there's an opportunity there. And so what does the market look like for this? So if you look at the population of Utah, half of that population are women. And so 73% of that half of the population, so there's about 1.5 million, 73% of that, 1.1 million, are young women of the age of 20 and older. So I think that there's a ripe market there in terms of having this type of site and these types of resources for women. If you didn't know, 35% of all blog content created or read is in Utah. I mean, think about that for a second. And we actually rank 12% higher than the closest state. So, content, is an important factor here. As you know, I'm sure you know that Utah is ranked number 3 right now in the nation in terms of one of the fastest growing states. So I think that we can capture that. And then finally, 80,000, I think the new number is 84,000 businesses are women-owned. And they generate $14 billion annually. So I say to myself, well, where are those women? Who are those women? Those are the women that we want to feature. So as I mentioned, we're going for funding, founding corporate sponsorship. Some of the new things that we've been thinking about, as I mentioned, is a funding conference that we'd like to do next year. We're already in talks with venturecapital.org. And what we want to do is, again, bring all of those key women-focused groups together in order to make that happen. I think that we have to kind of stop doing just the pitching events, or, I think that what we need to do is start giving seed money to women so that they have an opportunity to start businesses. And so these are the 3 tiers that we're looking at, and I think that there's various ways in which that we can work with different companies and brands that want to support us. So I like to end it with this quote. There is no tool for development more effective than the empowerment of women. I'm sure that, we hear about the empowerment of women a lot, and I'm sure that maybe we get a little bit fatigued with it, but maybe we should change the word to enabling instead of empowering. I think that we need to kind of change the way that we're viewing what empowerment means. And I think that because of those numbers that I featured earlier, I think that we could be doing some really dynamic, positive work here. So thank you. Is this questions? Yeah? Okay, so any questions? Yes.
No one on mic. Love it. Love the idea. I saw a couple misses.
Okay.
Number one, you're not mentioning the education in the state. More women have degrees in the state than any other state. Big point for what you're doing, because we have a lot of highly educated college graduates that are available. So that's the point. I would definitely promote that. The other one is, you didn't mention the other kind of facilities. My daughter is big with IVF, huge, big organization. And that's a big all-women's group. And you mentioned there's some of those that really could be part of this, that is the business aspect, and gathering those in because they're influencers.
Yes.
So those are just 2 suggestions.
Yes. And I thank you for that. And that's what we're trying to do right now, is we're trying to make a matrix of all the women's groups and organizations that are out there, so that we can slowly start to feature them, but also put them a part of our resources page, so that, again, we kind of become that one-stop shop for all things women, and then link out to them so that they're getting that support. On the note of, women graduating with degrees, it's true, but the problem is that they drop out of the professional world at some point, and it's actually quite a high number. So I think that that's another area that we could target in terms of, what could we do to also bridge that gap, bring women back into the professional environment, after, because obviously they're going off to have families and whatnot. So, yeah, definitely.
So the underlying fact that is going against you here in Utah is that it's always the number 1 or number 2 state in children per woman. So that's a big factor.
Yeah.
But what I see as a real positive for what you're doing is that everything seems to be headed towards smaller and more creative enterprises. And these are the sort of enterprises that I think favor the talents that most women seem to have. So maybe if you targeted toward women that maybe they are working from home because they do have a lot of children, but they're doing things that are very important and very creative, even if it's on a smaller basis, versus kind of the industrial model we've been stuck in for the last 150 years.
Yes, and actually a point with that, the irony is, and maybe for, hopefully we choose another word, the influencer kind of category, but we actually have some of the most successful influencers, mommy influencers, whatever you want to call them here, but because we don't deem them as being, professionally employed, and they're viewed differently, and they're not kind of like factored in, but they're actually generating a heck of a lot of money, and they are really, helping women, if you will, whether if they want to become that same type of influencer. But yes, we are kind of missing a piece of the pie there.
I think what you're doing is really cool, and I want to go back to the thing that you made the observation about having men involved with you. I don't think that's something to be downplayed in any way, and the reason I say that is this. I worked in senior IT roles for most of my corporate career, and there was sometimes this perception that, well, men really don't want to help women get ahead, and I don't believe that that's true.
Agreed.
My wife is the principal wage earner in my family and has been for several years since I went into consulting and basically
Right.
worked part-time.
Right.
And she's phenomenal at what she does. And one of the things that she says in her profession is, I really don't like the fact that there's an association for women in my profession. I want to go be a part of everybody in my profession. She said, I realize that women maybe have special interests, but she said, I don't want to always be treated, that I'm a woman. I want to be a part of the whole community.
Yes.
And one of the things that can happen, and I'm not picking on Amy, but when she looked at the room and said, hey guys, you need to get more women here, my first reaction is, well, wait a minute. What are women doing to get more women here? And the point
Agreed.
is, and I say that somewhat kiddingly, but here's the point. And the reason that I raised both of those examples is the extent to which there becomes a wall between men and women and organizations are only men or only women, then what you can very easily foster is men who say, well, it looks like you got this covered. You don't need me, you don't want me,
Right.
and so why do I care? And I don't think that's healthy either. So I think the extent to which you're promoting women is phenomenal. And I say this not as a, well, that's good for everybody else, but not me, because
Right.
my best bosses, the two best bosses I've ever had in my career were women. They were great folks.
Great.
One of my absolute favorite clients, their practice is run by a 30-something-year-old woman who is phenomenal. I love her to death.
Good.
And she's really good. And so, I mean, I do things that I can to help promote women, but I see in an organization like this, for example, had you not shown that one slide, it would have been tempting to say, well, it looks like you got
here we
this.
go again. I know.
And I don't think that really helps. So I think the extent to which it is not exclusively women and you invite men to be involved and not just token, realistically, but actually help them. I think there are a lot of men that want to say, yeah, absolutely, we're behind
yeah.
women advancing and doing good things. But if it comes across as, well, you got this, you'll actually have a harder time, I think,
I agree.
because let's face it, a lot of the senior roles are occupied by men.
Yes.
And if they don't feel like they're participating, then even though their goal may not be to hold women down, they may not be making an effort to bring them up.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Agreed.
important. And the second thing, and I won't be as long on this one, when you made the observation that there's a different cultural thing in Utah County, if your experience has been outside of Utah and primarily limited to Salt Lake, I hope you don't underestimate that statement.
Oh, no.
'Cause
That's why I
the
mentioned
culture in
it.
Utah County is radically different.
Yes.
And I say that having tried to mentor a lot of women in the 25 years that I've been in Utah, a lot of the pushback I got was from women who said,
Interesting.
yeah, but that's not the way we do things here, and I don't want to. And they didn't want those things,
Interesting.
even though I would try to draw that out in some of the folks. I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush. It is not every woman by any stretch.
Absolutely.
But the culture in Utah County, about 178 degrees difference than the culture in Salt Lake.
Yes.
So-
And so speaking to both of your points, number one, I actually wrote a piece called What It Means to Support Women. And one of the things that I talked about it in 3 tiers: men supporting women supporting women, and women organizations supporting women. And I actually mentioned that the 2 biggest hurdles to women, helping women is women. And it really is. I was talking to someone the other day. There's mommy wars, if you can believe that there's a thing. And it's like, well, who created that? Women did. Men didn't. Right? And so, yes, we are trying to make a significant point by bringing these men in and getting them involved. And I'm actually meeting with them next week to talk about what does this involvement look like. We want them to bring us women that we can highlight. Maybe even they can write pieces about women that they have admired or mentored or whatever that looks like. I would even love to do a panel discussion with all my advocates to talk about what are men experiencing when it comes to interacting with women in professional environments, right? Hiring women to diversify their teams. We're not having these conversations. And so, yes, I think that as great as all these women organizations have been, there is that kind of let's cut men out, and we've got this, and we're, and I don't think that that's serving anyone well. And so we are hoping to maybe be the change there. And yes, and I think that's why I said with my advisory board, we really want to show the diversity that exists in Utah on all levels, because we just think about diversity, in terms of maybe ethnicity or things like that. It's everything. It's age, it's your, spiritual community, it's whatever we are made up of here in Utah, and I think that we have to highlight that.
I want to just really quick, Robin. Very good, very good point. No, I totally know. We're good. We're friends, but it's all good. So my sense, I'm not a Utah girl. I'm more from back east, West Virginia, Missouri before that. So definitely understand the cultural differences here among women. What I see a lot happening, and this is what I mean by let's help these men, is a lot of women in this area do not value what they bring to the table. They don't understand the skills that they've learned, even leaving the school, their education, their degrees behind for a time. The things that they're learning and they're putting into practice on a daily basis in the home life are very applicable to the business world, to starting a business, to running a
1,000%.
Right, and that I think what the problem is we aren't sometimes helping them build that confidence, right? They are tearing themselves down most of the time. You'll have a couple strong women in the area that know the difference, have figured that out. But I think it really goes to the culture of building that you're a CEO. You have, time management, financials, conflict resolutions, everything they're dealing with on a home level that makes them afraid to get back into the business world because they don't see how that correlates.
Yes.
So building that arm and that muscle,
and we don't talk about it either, right? So if we talk about it more, then they would look at themselves different and be like, oh wait, I can apply these skills.
Yeah.
So that's why, the content on the site has to be these types of conversations that we're not having.
And it's not just the professional woman that's been in the business world her whole life that you're bringing into this group to help, highlight that. So,
yes.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
But you're right. We have to do our part too. I absolutely agree with you.
Definitely. Any other questions?
Yeah. Thanks for coming and pitching. Awesome idea. Just wondering if you've have you reached out to some of these women groups, and what has been the interaction, what's been the experience, and maybe just talk a little bit about that.
Definitely. So we have. So some of the groups that I've talked to, I was on the inaugural volunteer committee for Womenpreneurs, and so I know their co-founders really well, and so they love the idea. I've spoken to Braid Workshop. I know that they just had an event here recently, and they do great things. They're trying to do much more dynamic, hands-on workshops to help women develop certain skills and learn certain things. So we've talked to them, and we're highlighting them. So we've definitely talked to some of the groups before we really went forward with this, and they love the idea. Because truth be told, a lot of the women's groups out there, so even if you think about Women's Tech Council, and I mean all of them, not a lot of them are creating content. Right. And so I think that there is an opportunity to create content, right? So we're talking about who those key women are, those key players in this, space, what those organizations are, what do they do, where can you find them, that kind of thing, right? Because I don't think that that's promoted enough. When you look at our media, and the local publications and what they're highlighting, there's token pieces, here and there, but there's not that constant, if you will, content or even PR, if you will, right, in terms of who are these groups, who started them, who's running them, what are they doing, how can they help me, that kind of thing. So yes, we've been in contact with a few of them, and we're hoping to continue to bridge that gap.
I really do like empowerment rather than enabling.
Oh, good.
And so I think it's key to what you guys are doing. Actually, if it's not unless you take the empowerment position, you're going to be a Me Too kind of group, like, oh, we're diversification for women and we need to force this diversification because it's not out there and nothing's happening in the workplace and people aren't recognizing women. That's a weak position. That's an enabling position. We've got to do something for these poor women to do this, right?
Yes.
But empowerment, where you actually take a different position in your brand and you go forward like, these are powerful women and this is why, not that we need to enable this, because we've got to infuse this, we've got to force the infusion. We're also going to say that, we're just like everybody else. We're just going to say, you've just got to hire women because women need to be hired more, or you've got to invest in our company because
or
you're
meet
not
that quota.
Yeah, meet that quota. That's really, when you look at it, you have a very powerful position. You could really empower women and be a pivotal point in the whole marketplace for this beautiful thing and this powerful thing that needs to happen. Or you could just be a Me Too group.
Well, we definitely don't want to be a Me Too group for various reasons.
Yeah. But for me, I would go for the empowerment rather than the enabling.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. I mention it because I know that it is overused. But I think that, you understand it, and that's great. And we hope that when you come to the site and you see what we're doing, that you understand the type of empowering that we're doing, right? Because I think that we really just have to take it a step further. It's like women don't know what they're capable of, right? They don't know if they can learn about different women. Because the other thing too is we have this really intense focus on women in tech, and it's great. And I know that the technology industry is lacking in diversity, and there's all sorts of stories around that. But truth be told, not all women want to be in the tech space, right? And so I think that if we can just highlight all the women in various industries and what their businesses are or what those organizations look like, other women can say, oh, she did this, well, I can do that too. And not feel that your only way to success is through technology. And I know that we're very tech heavy here, in terms of the growth of the Silicon Slopes. And I think it's great. I mean, our market is a growth market right now because of that. And I love that. But I just think that we need to make sure that we're not missing the point so that women don't feel that, well, geez, if that's, my only way, then I don't know what we're going to do. We want to really kind of open that up a little bit more. But thank you for that comment. I appreciate that. I've probably taken up enough time.
Yeah. Well, one last question for you. What
Okay.
can we do as a 1 Million Cups community do for you?
Well, what you can do is help us elevate, and promote what we're doing. Tell people about us, and not just women, men as well, because of our mission. And as I said, we're looking for founding corporate sponsors. We want to do a funding type of conference next year. We want to do workshops. I hear a lot about how these companies need to diversify their workforce. Well, I say to them, why don't you teach the workshops of the skills that the women need so that you can turn around and hire them, right? So we want to do stuff like that. We don't want to do just any old type of events anymore. We don't want to do networking events. We really want to do dynamic events that are going to be helping to empower women. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Robin. Very great. Great presentation, a great message, and great point. It's on all of our shoulders, so we can do this. We have a couple announcements really quick. Anybody in the audience have a public announcement that they want to make outside of 1 Million Cups? Yes.
The SBDC, we're back again, doing surveys. We don't have the iPads this time, but we got the QR code, so if you didn't get a chance to do the survey last time, or if you're new this week and haven't done the survey yet, we're still here for that. So.
Okay, thank you, Clark. Appreciate that. Yeah, Jim.
I don't know anything about that.
They're offering a special class the 24th, 25th, 26th at 5:30 to 7. It's going to be all psychographics and marketing, but it's a high-level class. It's $3,500 a head, and we're covering the cost as the center. So it's kind of a nice freebie for everybody.
Where is that located,
It's
Jim?
going to be at the Small Business Development
Okay.
Center. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes.
October 15th, I just got wind that I'm going to be on ABC News talking about my little children's picture book. So
Oh, terrific. Wonderful. We bought one for RevRoad Space, by the way. It's really, really great. So go talk to him after. We'll look for that spot. That's terrific. Okay, a couple announcements as far as RevRoad goes. We are having a RevRoad rally on Friday, this Friday, at the City Center Park in Orem. It's our give back to the mentally disabled. We're having some cool cars. We'll have a helicopter. We've got live bands, food trucks. So number one, if you have a really cool car that you want to bring to highlight and bedazzle and put a smile on these sweet people's faces, come talk to us after. It's free, and we're just looking for people who want to be a part of that. And so let us know, okay? That's Friday. Open to the public. And then we are clicking live our competition application process Monday. So look for that. We have an annual entrepreneurship competition, cash prizes, really great event, great exposure, and some phenomenal judges that you'll get to meet and connect with that could really help in areas of your company or your business at any stage. And then, of course, we have our Rev Up every Thursday from 4 to 5:30 here at our space that Seth runs. So just a quick thank you again to our sponsors. I know that Morgan with Pouch is out for a couple weeks, but he'll be back. Stoshin, Power Up, no Rev Up tomorrow because we have an event that's taking the place, but that'll be again next week and following every Thursday after that. Smart Ship, Startup Building, Creole Brew, and Provo City. Cameron, I saw you sneak in back there. Thanks, you guys. If you're interested in being a sponsor for 1 million cups, let us know. We're always looking for, if you get tired of cereal every morning, hook us up or come talk with us and be a breakfast sponsor. We welcome that anytime, okay? And you can choose that or we can take it off your shoulders and you'll just pay for what we get. So thank you guys for coming and participating. We're going to turn the time over to Dan, and he's going to share his motivational speaking idea. Dan, take it away.
Right goes left. No. Which way? Turn it up. So, there's a no. Perfect. Thank you for being here. If you indulge me, gentlemen, think of yourselves being in, let's say, early 20s in Japan. Yes, you're Americans. You're in Japan. And you're at a dance. That's where you meet girls, right? And you're single, by the way. So you're early 20s in Japan, and there's an awesome dance. And you love to dance, you go there. And then you chat with the girls, of course. There's beautiful ladies there. Now, ladies, think of yourselves being there also. And then these men, gentlemen, come and ask you to dance. And it's a slow song, okay? So you're like, the guy's like, and you don't speak the language, by the way, gentlemen. You're in Japan, you don't speak the language, and you go there and ask a lady, because you don't speak, you say, hey, over there. Okay, so then you start dancing, and then you say, what do you do? Oh, I don't know. So the ladies is like, is this a suitable guy to go out to date? You ask me, ladies, would you actually be going on a date with this gentleman that doesn't speak the language? That, I don't know, he's this and that. Okay, with that setting, with that thought, keep that thought, or we'll talk more about it. Oop, the other way. Motivation speaking. Yes, I am not, as you have come in the past, most of the people, they present a product. I do a service, which is motivation speaking. Okay, what I go through, or what I show this, is through breakthroughs. I try to do conferences. Last week I mentioned that I want to be the Mexican Tony Robbins. Of course, I don't know, 2 feet shorter than him, and I'm not as loud as him, but think of that. With that said, what I try to help with motivate people is through one-on-ones, with clients, with athletes, to get them from that point, the 98%, to a Six Sigma, to the 99.999%. Okay. Also, to do radio shows. So through radio shows that I'm doing right now, I am motivating people through Facebook Live, through interviews. By the way, I interviewed Brent Allwood. So that was something that my job is to extract SMEs, subject matter experts, what they click, what does it make, what makes them wake up in the morning at 5 in the morning. By the way, he stayed up until like 1 in the morning the night before, working with not this gym, but the other gym. So what really motivates these people? Okay, a little bit about myself. Okay, with that scenario that I was mentioning to you guys, being in Japan, not speaking the language, I came to this country as an adult. I didn't have a high school. I didn't speak the language. So going to a lady like herself, like this lady or the other one, and says, hey, would you like to dance? What do you think? And if I ask her, and when I slow dance, it's 2 minutes, right? You have a chance to ask for a phone number. That's it, because the music is loud, everything is like that, and then you ask, hey, would you give me your number? Those girls are like, oh, I say 2 minutes, come on, the music is over. Come on, okay, bye-bye. Okay, that's what it tells. I came to this country not speaking the language and not being able to, I didn't graduate from high school in Mexico when I came to this country. With that said, I work at farms. That's the only job that I could have. Ranches, I pick up manure from llamas, they spit. It is true. From reindeer, yes, they do hook you with their antlers. Horses, things like that. So from that, I came and I started my life again 20 plus years ago. And this is the motivation speaking that I'm trying to show people, or that's what my objective is. Again, no high school. I had to start with math, English, and a level 85 or 80, 81, 82, way before you can take the 101. That's, to me, I'm early 20s. It's a little bit embarrassing. It's a little bit shy that I can actually be taking geometry, trigonometry, way before, and I'm at college. But I'm still cannot take the 101. I'm begging. I'm really hoping to take the English 101. In addition to that, think of yourselves going to Japan also, or learning another language, but you have never ever written an essay. What is an essay, by the way? Well, you give your introduction, but the same thing, you're going to talk about it on your conclusion. It's like, what the heck? I was telling, why do I have to repeat that? Mexico, unfortunately, does never, ever teach people how to write an essay. So whenever, I remember many years, in the first year of high school, when I failed a test, I had to take it at the end. As long as on your final, you just dump information. For instance, who was the president of Mexico? And what years was the revolution? And what is this? So you literally do 1805 to 1809, comma. 1939 to 1945 was their World War II, boom, comma. These are the players, comma. These are this. You dump all the information, that is an essay. Or that's an information thing. So think of yourselves that way and actually write a stupid essay that you have your introduction, you have your 3 conclusions, and then you have your 3 bodies, and then your conclusion. Holy crap. To me, it was a pain. It was embarrassing when I went to the college lab for them to review my essay. No way. It's like the girls were like, oh my God, what did I get into? Because they saw my essays like, this is crap. And I agree. It was crap. With that said, that was a little bit about myself. So, but years later, I didn't give up. And that is the part that I'm trying to help people to see. I was able to complete an AA years later, and a BS, or BA, whatever, not BS. And later on, a few years later, I was able to finish a master's. Now, that to me, I think that's a motivation by itself. And that is the part that I'm trying to teach people, that if you really want, you can achieve things. Again, going with that kid that actually was picking up manure, to the guy that, and I'll tell a little bit, was able to break into the blue, very, very blue collar arena. Okay, I worked 20 years, and that goes now the part that I'm trying to show people, and not just people in Mexico, not people that just spoke Spanish or speak Spanish, but also other people that they have said, well, I just don't know, I cannot do that, or it's too hard. I know, 20 years, 15 years at Microsoft, another couple years with Symantec, Zero Vulnerabilities, and Merit. In what capacity? I started as a QA engineer, basically breaking software. I started learning about how to write scripts. Now, I don't have any background, any technical background, and now writing a little batch script. What the heck is that? If, else, this, and this. Of course. And with that said, I feel like you guys know a little bit of Microsoft. Some of the interns were 14 years old from Cornell, from Harvard. So they're genius. So the people that were in the team, they were freaking genius. And back in, this is what, 20 plus years ago. So for myself, getting and being on one-on-one, working your typical 60, 70, 80, sometimes 90 hours a week with these geniuses, of course I needed to learn something. I need to compete because these guys are genius. I'm stupid, but I'm not. Even I'm a little bit slower than they are, but I'm not gonna give up. And that's what I was able to complete a 15-year career with Microsoft, like I said, and again, QA, dev, project, and program manager, and after that, I just finished, or was as director. So again, going from that kid that did not know anything, or didn't speak the language, or didn't have a high school, and had to take the, I think, again, the level 80 of geometry in college, is embarrassing. But to me, that's what I feel like I have something, to share with people. What differentiates me to other public speakers? Okay, I know the culture, being here for 25 years, 20 in, so I'm 45, 25 here, 20 in Mexico, so I know a little bit, a few things. I live in Boston, I live in Seattle, I live in Fargo, North Dakota, so I know the culture in a few places. And again, all that through my career with Microsoft. So I understand both things. The other thing is, a lot of times other public speakers says, hey, I'm 20 years old or whatever, just think of them. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna do this. You can do it. You can do it. It's like, and I'm gonna take you there. It's like, have you actually been there? And that would differentiate them than I. I've been there. I know what the little trenches are to get to the top because I've been there. And they are pain. They're horrible. But I can actually say, yes, because of this, I feel your pain, bro. I feel your pain, sister. So I think that's what differentiates myself than other motivators or other people that actually are able to do that. Also, breaking into the white collar space, I know many people that actually have come from different countries, from Mexico, and they're very wealthy. And that's excellent. And again, I'm not saying anything else as far as that, but breaking into the white collar space, I think this is a little bit harder than having a little construction company or having a landscaping company, and now you have 20 employees and you have 20 trucks and this. I feel like writing an essay and writing reports to the CEO and present to the CEO and present to the CFO and says, oh yeah, this is your graph and this is this and this is this. I think it's a little bit harder. And again, that's what I feel like differentiates myself than the other motivator speakers. Again, in the last part that Brent always said, passion, and passion. And I think if you don't have that, you can't go anywhere. And I appreciate that. So with that said, what topics, and he's not here, but he said, why don't you come out with a concise project? Yeah, you can talk about a school, you can talk about this, you can talk about that, but you need to come out with your three topics that you speak about. And the first one is how education and lifelong learning is so important. My kids, my wife is from Columbus, actually, from outside Columbus in Ohio. Of course, she was the person that gives the speech in high school. You know what they are. So they're excellent. So that is me. Don't have a high school, don't read too much. And then her, there is like a consumes information like that. Then my kids are, and again, not because of me, it's because of my wife. They're really, really smart. My father-in-law gets together with them. Even now, she's 13 and 12. My two kids, they talking about calculus every week. Grandfather doesn't live here, so they actually have the weekly date type of thing, and they talk about engineering. They're actually building motherboards now, and how you code and pushing things. And that was since they were 8. They were able to do amazing things. And again, that is the part that I feel like education and lifelong learning, it is forever. For the last couple of years, I'm like, okay, I want to consume. I want to be smart like my wife and my kids, because they're coming out with stupid questions. Like, I say stupid because they're really hard. I'm just trying to put my barrier. They're really, I'm sorry, Kinsey, go talk to your mom. I don't know that question. It's beyond me. So that is the part that I'm like, okay, I need to become smarter. Okay, pull a book. And I start reading. I grew up not reading ever. That's foreign. I don't know, those are the geeks kids. So, but it's like, I want to be a geek now. So I'm trying to consume a book to a book and a half a week. Either audio, either reading, sometimes it's both. And that is the part that I'm trying to help people. It's like, reading is vital. So, an MBA, I say I have a master's in project management, but I went and looked at all the books that an MBA student gets it. I got them all. I read the test cases. I read everything. I can say now I don't have the MBA, but I know what an MBA studies. I know what they've been taught. I know what they're doing. So the lifelong learning, I know that part, and I think that's embedded into us. That's what I said, reading a book a week. Stop with the blah, blah, blah excuses. Again, going from, I didn't have a car growing up. I mean, and even when I came to this country. So transporting myself from here to there in Seattle, the distances are enormous also. So I got a bike. Go from here to there, to this, to this. So no excuses is just something that is so, I feel like it is so embedded into us. And that's what my motto, just checking time, is so vital. So if plan A doesn't work, hey, there's B, there's plan C. Okay, if you really, kind of what Brent said, the passion, no matter what it is, you get there. So there's 25 more letters, right, in the alphabet. So if you finish after that, then I said, at that point, you can give up. The second part, I feel, and this is something that I learned from Tony, so through courses and speeches that I have gone to be able to see or hear from him, he says that our brains are like, I don't know, 20 million years, I'm just making it up, so many years old. So they're thinking about one way. And the part that we need to think, and especially in the last 20, 30 years, where now everything is through clicking and through whatever computers, so our brains have not changed. So they are still using the 20 years, 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, still have that. So I feel like we need to rewire our brain, and that's what I'm trying to help people with one-on-ones, things like that. And again, the method that I'm trying to share those is through weekly, like I have a weekly radio show through Facebook Live. I'm promoting, or I'm pushing more towards Mexico, so that's what Facebook Live is the most. I'm hoping to do both, English and Spanish, Mexico and US. Anyhow, that is what I'm doing, that. Daily podcasts or shares through LinkedIn, through Facebook. I'm trying to push that through YouTube also, and webinars, I'm trying to give those. And full-day conferences. So that is the breakthrough that I'm trying to do. I know that Tony Robbins does like 4 days. The audience that I have right now, I don't think they can do 4 days. So I'm pushing it to 9 hours with 1 hour lunch. So, but my goal is to do a 4-day thing, so I can actually be gone. John, we need to still work on the podcast, right? With GM2, I have an interview with you, so I'm hoping to do that. And of course, on the side, what we try to do is public speaking. So I try to teach teens and twins. As you know, the first 5 seconds, you decided if you like me or not. Some of you probably have says, this guy, is it over? And half of them said, maybe. But normally the first 5 seconds you define or decide if you like someone or not. So that is what I'm trying to help, especially teens or twins. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So give me 1 second. I'll finish everything. Thank you, Mike. So public speaking, job coaching, software and penetration testing. That's what I do on the site, and webinars. And thank you. Questions? Okay. So.
We'll get started, Robin. I love it. Dan, okay, I like you. You're really great. First 5 seconds, you had me hooked. Okay, I have a question for you. First of all, super impressed. You are inspiring, especially the story you tell and what you've come from and what you've accomplished and what you want to help. And those brains from those kids come from you too. And those example you've set. Don't diminish that. Help me understand the website. So I got on the website right now, and I don't speak Spanish. I wish I did. That's one thing I wish I had learned. Help me understand the website. It looks like your target market is for Spanish culture. Is that right? Because it's all in Spanish. There's a couple things that are in English. And do I have a translate option if I want to contact you? Go.
Okay. So if you want to contact me, all those are just right now. So, but the second part, so what the brain, like the brand is de Sifuentes. What I'm trying to do with the seminar is the Yo Sin Límites. So if you see there's a couple sites there, de Sifuentes is the brand, Yo Sin Límites is the conference that I do. To your point, we have not translated into English. We need to do that. So I appreciate that.
Okay.
I'll make sure that my wife knows and my engineers know that they need to be doing this right
like
away.
If I look at that, I would think you're just targeting someone, the Spanish-speaking community.
And that's the part that we try to get into, because I tried to do some seminars or conferences here, and I couldn't sell tickets. There were only 1, 2, or some friends that feel obligated to come. So I was like, how can I break into the Caucasian American thing? And I felt like after doing a few surveys, people was like, oh, no, I'm okay. You don't have anything to give. You don't have anything. I was like, okay. So then I steered back to Mexico and Spanish, because I felt like I didn't get any feedback or any
I'm not
acceptance
saying
from
that's
Americans.
wrong, right? You should know who your market is, and that's good. If that is where your focus is, because that's where your audience is and the demand for what you're offering, that's okay. I just want to understand as I go on as a complete stranger to this site, it just helps me understand who you're looking at.
But again, I want both. I didn't see the acceptance in Caucasian American. That's what I steered to the Mexican. Getting more likes, more followers. Then I can say, hey, then the American says, oh, he might have something. That is why, but I want both.
Mine is very similar to Amy. She basically said the same thing. You need to focus on one first. I mean, be phenomenal, successful in the Hispanic marketplace. I would focus one. The others will come, but to focus on two, you spread yourself too thin. You're not going to be able to accomplish what you really want to do. But if you focus on the one and you have a great story, I would amplify your story more of a story. People can help you with that. You have a great story about your early life, and put that into content that, hey, this is my short story, and this is who I am because of this. And that's pretty much would connect a lot of people to you. You know, that, hey, I would work on llamas and they spit. I mean, that's a great, okay. And reindeer, whoa, and those are things that immediately click with people. Wow, he worked with reindeer. That's kind of, he worked with reindeer poop. Wow. Okay, those connect people, but I think you need to focus this feedback on a singular group. Find your client, niche that client down, focus on that, and then it will draw the other audiences. People will want to come because if you're filling up a coliseum with everybody who speaks Spanish, people are going to say, well, wait a minute, this must be really good. What is he doing? And they're going to research you and say, oh, okay, wow, he does a lot of stuff. And you say, oh yeah, we offer in English too. And they go, when?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on his point because I agree with some of the stuff he said, with both of them. But I think focusing on your market, Mexican Americans or Spanish speaking, people that are here going through the same struggles that you've gone through, right, is a huge opportunity for you to focus on that for start. But I also, when you start off with your story about Japan, and you know, the dancing and all that, I think that throws us off a little bit, where your story to me, like he said, is more fascinating to me personally, because I think you want people to be able to basically directly connect with you. So by telling the story, like he said, the llamas, you know, what you've come from, picking up crap, sorry. I'm from New York, so, you know, picking up crap, you know, all that stuff. Like, to me, to where you've come, like that story, like Tony Robbins, we have a friend, Don, who was on one of Tony Robbins' shows. He brings people up to the stage. He brought her up. She has an amazing story. She's a friend when we were living in Brazil, and she's basically taken that, and she's becoming like, just like you, she's becoming like this Tony Robbins of Brazil now, using her story and what she's gone through and all that as her basically story that people relate to, and then she basically helps them out of certain situations, right? So that's really where I think your strength is. Like, really focus on your story, how that led, you know all these things you've gone through, and you're going to be able to take them on that road to success as well. And I think, you know, you'll really find a lot more success in that, and then you could parlay that more on the English side as you go and transfer over. But I think, like he said, focus on that, and I think you'll do really well.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're over time, but one last question. What can we do as 1 million cups? Oh, you got it right there. Perfect.
So if you guys can help me, I know that probably, like you were saying, that probably they're in Spanish only. If you can share with your friends, if you can share some of the videos, not just like, but share, so they can, at least some people can follow, and I can get more followers. And as you know, if somebody has the 5,000 followers and one has a million, they're going to go to the 1 million. It's just marketing, I guess. And also, the way that I interview Brent, and I was hoping to interview Mike. So Mike, you still owe me yes, good. So if I can interview, my goal is to not just share my life, but actually extract from Mike, from Brent, tools, techniques, experiences, things that can help other people to see from you. Not just my story, because my story is whatever you want to call it, but it's this. But if I can enhance it more with Brent, with Mike, with yourself, that gives the audience to females, or I don't want to say females, but ladies, so they can actually see, oh, I forgot your name, I apologize. Robin. So Robin was able to do this and this. I, in Mexico City or whatever, I say, hey, I want to be like her. She empowers this and this. I want to learn that. So that's what my goal is, to interview people, extract, and push it down the road so other people can actually learn from that. And if there's a gig or something that you guys know of, I hope I'm your guy. And that's it.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody got a text yet? Hi, Sarah. Yes. Yes.
Working on a startup called Social Hire, which helps people, a lot of young people coming in to like work at Goldman, out of state. A lot of times they don't know the local market, and so they come here for a year, and they end up not liking it, and so they move out and quit their job, and that's just really expensive for any company that's bringing in out-of-state workers. It's $50,000 typically to hire someone, get them settled in, and then to have them quit in under a year. That's a lot of lost money for the company. So the goal is to help manage that process a little bit better. So she said she'd come next week, so I told her to apply, and yeah, we should be here next week.
Awesome. Good job. Thank you. All right. Sarah, welcome. So glad you came. Jim texted you right away, right? Okay, I love it. All right, well, I think you have earned this, and we'll work something out with you guys, okay? Okay, so next week, same time, same channel, same place. Robin and Dan, we felt your passion today, definitely. So thank you for sharing that with us. And we will all be able to, now we know what we can do to help. And so let's all take part in helping these two companies with what they've asked for. So thanks for coming.